Thanks for sharing it, Frank. I got you shared it too.
Welcome to the world we live in, back and forth through the kitchen. Remembering the nights we spent out, seem so far away, distant in a dream. Floating through the world we live in, not working for the check that's coming. Remembering the nights we spent out, seem so far away, distant in a
All right, welcome. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Neutral Zone. This is our 4th Sunday in a row where we're live streaming the Neutral Zone. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. Today, I gotta say, we have a packed agenda and we got some exciting things that we're gonna talk to you all about today. And we got some real terrific guests here. So if you're not here, you're missing out. And if you are here and you're listening to us live on Facebook, click the share button. Let's reach out to as many people as possible. All right, so before we get started, I'm sure by now you've all just heard our new theme song. It's by Pachamushka. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. We're going to tell you what is Pachamushka shortly. And that's something we wanted to do so we could avoid any copyright infringement. But we also got somebody in the ball hockey family who we want to support. But we'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. The other thing we're going to do is carry on the tradition of talking about some special announcements, injury updates, some breaking news out there. Frank will share some of that with us. We want to look after our own people here, and we got some thoughts and prayers that we'd like to share this afternoon. And then we got a great guest today with Eric Geraghty. We're going to be talking to him live here. Eric Geraghty, first time on the show. So again, share the link because we're going to be talking some real deep stuff with Eric, and we're going to get into the head of Eric Geraghty here, which is a complicated place, but definitely one full of a lot of intellectual capital. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get into the highlights of Woodridge. Today was actually one of the great Sundays. It goes down with 3 full-packed games, the 8 a.m., the 9:30, and then the 11 a.m., followed by the Palatine highlights, which I'm sure both Frank and Stomps will have a lot to talk about there. And then we're going to close with the updated projected production schedule. So we got some other guests coming in the next few weeks with some terrific topics. So with that said, let's get on with the Neutral Zone. All right. So let's start here. Stomps, why don't you tell us, what is Pachamushka?
Pachamushka, well, first of all, it's Russian for people that are always questioning things. Why? They're like when you have little kids, they always ask, why? That's Pachamushka. Pachamushka in this case is actually my stepson, Jeremy Morgan. That was his music at the beginning. He does all the instruments, the singing, everything, writes the songs. So we went with this because we got hit with some pesky copyright infringements that, you couldn't post the shows to YouTube because of the songs we were using previously. So we just went with his, and hey, we're big into nepotism on this show, right? We want to help our family members, and so he's on. You can get his music on Spotify and all those other streaming services. So yeah, appreciate you letting me use him, Nav.
Hey,
and he's happy too.
Yeah, well, just a couple more things on Pachamushka. Guys, listen, we're out like Stomp saying, we're trying to support our group here. So if you guys, I thought that was an amazing song. We're going to be using that going forward. Jeremy has offered to write us some music, so that's pretty cool. His YouTube channel is Pachamushka. If you guys could kind of go on there on YouTube, I'll send you some reminders. But go on there and maybe hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that when he releases a new hit, you can hear it first. Good stuff. I didn't know you had a musician in the family, Stumps. That's great.
I don't know about that name, quite frankly. Most people that know me know my favorite band is Kiss. You can't forget that name. It's memorable. It's easy. And then he goes with this. So
I don't know. I kind of like Pechamushka.
I like it too as an intro song because it's like "Welcome to the World We Live In." And Frank, you can attest to this. Ball hockey players live in their own little dynamic universe, don't they?
Dynamic. That's a good word for it. But it's definitely our own universe. Pechamushka, question everything.
Yeah.
right.
Question how much playing time. Question whether you should have been traded. Question. Oh boy. Speaking of trades, okay.
Whether Timmy's goal was in the net or not today.
Yeah, I was questioning that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we have some sad news, right, Stomps, on the WWE front. You want to talk to the viewers about this?
Well, I think a lot of the guys that play in our leagues are also into pro wrestling too. And Animal from the Road Warriors passed away this week at the age of 60. Not quite sure yet what the reason is, but if you followed wrestling, see, the thing with me is I'm a little older than most. So I got into it in the early 70s in Chicago. And to me, the greatest tag team in the history of wrestling is the Bruiser and the Crusher. Okay. So number one, but the Road Warriors, many people say they were, these guys in the 80s lived a hard life. They wrestled probably about 300 days a year, I should say. Let's face it, did a lot of steroids, a lot of drinking, a lot of other narcotics, just a real hard life. And then, they retire to what? There's no, what's it called? They're not getting monies, obviously. They have to go signings. There's no pension plan or healthcare plan and those kind of things for the wrestlers. So anyway, it's amazing how many, if we compiled a list of the number of wrestlers from the 80s who have passed young, it's pretty phenomenal. It's sad, but yeah, so we just thought we'd give a shout out.
No, it's a loss to the wrestling community. There was a nice tribute by The Rock earlier this week. I don't know if you saw that one, guys, but The Rock did a nice tribute. You kind of always hear these things about these guys after they die. It's a shame that we don't celebrate these people while they're alive. You hear all these stories after, but definitely thanks Stomps for the insights there. Okay. So couple of things. And Frank knows Sam Espinoza pretty well. He was on a couple of weeks ago. He was actually with us this morning, right, Eric? He was he referee for the first two games. We're all pulling for Sam Espinoza. My experience with Sam, and I welcome you guys to sort of say a couple things about him, is the guy's got a jersey for every single team. Basically, I don't know if you've seen his jersey collection, but I see him with a Leafs jersey, a Hawks jersey, a Bruins jersey. If he ever wears a Habs jersey, though, he's going to get a punch in the mouth. But regardless of that, really pulling for this guy. He's dealing with some kidney issues. He let us know a few weeks ago. Great guy, always positive, great scorer. We think he's one of the future leaders of the sport in the Chicago area. Just an enjoyable guy. I put a question mark there because I don't know if he's too much of a two-way player, but that's up for discussion on another show. But we love you, Sammy. We're pulling for you. It was great to see you this morning. Any thoughts from the panel?
Yeah, I was talking to him today, and it's a tough deal. He's only 22 years old, and so he's dealing with this tough stuff. But he seems like he's in pretty good spirits. He was out there today, hanging out with the guys. So that was great to see. And, hopefully everything works out for him. Hopefully they get this figured out. But yeah, we're pulling for him.
Yeah. Eric?
He'll be back. He loves the game too much to sit on the sidelines. So he's going to be all right.
Yeah, Sammy's like Frank said, he's a real upbeat guy. He's very friendly, solid player. It was great to see him out there today, especially when he was dropping the puck on the draws, and he was sending Sabatini out of the face-off a couple of times, which was warranted, very much so. But yeah, just great to see him out there keeping the stats and being our official for the games today. Great seeing him. And you're right, Eric, he will be back for sure.
Yeah. And he's tuned in. So Sammy, we're pulling for you. Thanks for your commitment to the show, to the sport, and just keep being you, man. We want to keep seeing you Sundays until you can get better so you can start playing again. So all the best to you. And then Frank, you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, Justin, he's been a Raider for a number of years, but he was a fixture in Woodridge, I know, a few years ago. And yeah, he's had some knee troubles recently. And so he just had a surgery last week, but talked to him. He's doing well, and he's in good spirits. So hopefully everything works out well. Yeah, he's a young guy. He's a great athlete. So I'm sure he'll put in the work and be back sooner than later. But yeah, good guy. Just be great. I'm sure he'd appreciate if everyone just gave a shout out to him and know that we're thinking about him.
Yeah, thanks. And Stomps, Frank, thanks for bringing that one to our attention. Stomps, you've played with him as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Justin, and, again, the years kind of get away from you as time goes on, but I felt like maybe about 3 years ago or so, for me, he was the most improved player, bar none, certainly out at Palatine. He became a force out there, a soccer player taking up hockey and then over time really improving, developed a great shot, good backhander, tough to knock off the ball. I can't say enough good things. A good kid, and yeah, we definitely wish him the best, and I'm sure he'll be back too because he's a young guy. So
Yeah,
best wishes to Justin.
Yeah, thanks. And Eric, he's kind of gotten into Woodridge too, right? I think he's part of your special league as well, right?
Yeah, so several years ago, he started playing with Andre and a lot of those guys from Oswego, and immediately he was able to compete. His athleticism is there. He's a grinder. He wants to go out and get that ball and make a difference. And while he's not the flashiest player, he finds a way to get it done. And as a defenseman, and this is my personal experience, he's frustrating to play against because nothing he does is crazy, difficult, but he's just hard to get the ball off his stick, and it's just really hard to explain that without you actually experiencing it. So I feel really bad whenever somebody has an injury in Woodridge because I'm hosting these games and I hate to see it. I don't care who they are. I just hate to see it. So I hope he has a really good recovery, and I hope it's not a long-standing issue he has to deal with because nobody wants to see that either, especially because he's so young.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments, Eric. You actually had a rough ankle injury in Woodridge several years back that took you a while to come back from, right?
7 months. Yeah.
Wow. You're all healed up. Knock on wood.
Well, it's as healed as it's gonna get. 7 months and $2,000 in physical therapy, and it's okay. But I wear ankle braces all the time now because once you roll an ankle like that, it's just weaker no matter what you do. So
absolutely. Well, we got the picture of Justin with he's a relatively new father. You guys called it out. I mean, like Tom said, I mean, I always think of him. He was probably a really good soccer player. Hey, Frankie, what's that championship that he's holding over there? Which one is that?
That's got to be the 2019 championship from the Chicago Ball Hockey Classic. So that was Team Chicago. That was the year we finally broke through and won because the Timberwolves had won that for a number of years, and the Outlaws came in and they beat us. And then finally, yeah, so Justin was one of the key centers on that team that finally brought it home for us.
Wow. Good
and
stuff.
I'm sure that's filled with milk, that championship trophy. They all enjoyed milk and cookies after we won that one.
Well, Justin, if you're out there listening, wishing you a speedy ACL recovery. Don't rush it. Do it right. I had mine done in 2006, and I took my time. Definitely got slower, but I also aged, and I wasn't as in good shape as you are. So good luck with that, buddy. All right, this is breaking news. I think Frank and Eric can talk about this one. But guys, let us know what's going on here.
Yeah, Billy playing in the third game today. He went down kind of awkwardly, and the knee didn't feel good. It was the same knee he said he's injured in the past, and he went down, and it didn't look bad from where we were, but he was definitely feeling it. He was in a lot of pain, and normally I would make fun of Billy at this opportunity, but I talked to him, and I know he's actually feeling pretty down. He's in a lot of pain right now, so I will be kind and just wish him the best of luck, and hopefully it's not too bad. He's going to get it checked out this week, and hopefully he gets good news.
Well, thanks for that. And listen, Billy, from all of us, we wish you a speedy recovery. Like Frank said, hopefully it's nothing serious. But a lot of you guys know Billy, one of the most friendly, loving guys. If you get a chance, send him a text. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you all. Eric, you battled with him for several years. You guys went at it each other. 2 starting goalies, 2 great goalies going at it, right?
Oh, he's a titan, man. I would have loved to see him in his prime. Unfortunately, I didn't get to, but still, even at the years he's in now, he's still great. I figure that he's got at least a decade more in him, so hopefully that injury's not too bad.
Yeah. Stompsy, anything?
Well, we weren't planning on talking about Billy in today's show, and these aren't the best of circumstances, so we don't have to do a big tribute to Billy. I mean, everybody knows what Billy's all about. And not to bring the show down, but I mean, these injuries and these things people are going through in our community. My message to everyone is, just don't take anything for granted. If you want to play and you're healthy, do it. I kind of made for myself, it was something that I wanted to do. And certainly in the last year, I lost a couple of teammates. We talked about it last week on the show, and it's really made me think a lot about even my own mortality and just longevity in playing and the ability to play. I'm just so thankful that I can still play, still got these outlets, and thank goodness I don't make a fool out of myself out there. I can still be a positive contributor, but that's my message to everybody. Don't take it for granted. You see some of these young guys going down, and we even talked about Shane a few shows ago with what he's had to deal with. So just best wishes to these guys. We'll get them back. Just take care of yourselves. And
there was actually another injury out there at the 11 o'clock game that we haven't talked about yet. And that was me. I was in the Porta-John, and I got attacked by a bee.
Oh.
I'm in there, and a bee hit me right in the back of the neck. So I hope you guys say some thoughts and prayers for me.
Did it sting you?
Yeah, it stung me.
Oh, boy.
Those damn yellow jackets, I'm telling you, they're brutal out there this time of year. There's another injury. I don't want to keep harping on things, but they have from Wednesday's game at Palatine, Chico tweaked the hamstring, just so you know.
Okay. That should be that should be a recoverable one. Hey, Frankie, speaking of injuries, do you remember the exchange between you and I where you said, "Nav, you broke my toe," and did you hear what I said back to you right after you scored?
I broke your heart.
Yeah.
That was a tremendous moment. That's the stuff that documentaries are made of and shows like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great shot by Frank. I don't know if that was the 5-hole shot. That was the one that went 5.
That was. I was trying to keep it low. It looked like he was struggling on those low shots. So I was trying to keep it low.
But you got one that went in pretty good. Like it was a hard shot from the center ice that went upstairs. You remember that shot?
Closed my eyes and swung, and I don't know where it went after that.
Well, hey, listen. You know what? For those of you who just tuned in, we're on episode 4 of the Neutral Zone. We're now going to shift gears.
It's been a real downer so far. So we got
absolutely. This is not typical for us.
We're going to pick it up.
Yeah, we're going to pick that up, and let's get some music to pick that up.
Pashmushka. Pachimushka.
Well, this is actually not an up news. It's not a, but we did want to quickly share this. I'm not going to read this email to you, but there's no secret that John Scully has been really working hard to get that 3-on-3 deck hockey league up and running in Glencoe. I think he had 6 teams or something like that back in the middle of the summer sometime.
Yeah, they were all lined up ready to go.
Yeah, we're all ready to go. And for those of you who know John, great guy, put a lot of work into it. Unfortunately, given the pandemic and the ties that Glencoe, his surface has to the Park District, we're going to have to wait for that. And I think, optimistically, let's hope for the spring. So, John, we just wanted to recognize you and sort of publicize that you're doing all this good work. And it might not happen now, but we're pulling for you, buddy, to get that league up and running. And you can count all these guys in. So I don't care how far you guys got to drive. We got to support our friend John Scully. All right. Okay. Our special guest, Eric Geraghty. So today we have a very, very special guest who's already contributed to this platform this afternoon with some great insights, but we're really looking to dig into a little bit more with Eric. We're going to have Stomps be the lead interviewer here, talk to Eric, get into that mind of his, understand kind of what he's done, his experiences, what he's looking for in the future, what's kind of his vision of what we're going to do. So Eric, I love your hairstyle there, by the way. That looks pretty chic, buddy.
That's when I still had hair.
We appreciate you coming on, Eric. A number of the guys have come up to us in recent weeks saying they refuse to talk to us because we're now considered part of the media. So we're going to build some trust here and have a good interview and learn more about your history in Woodridge and so forth.
I look forward to it.
So what do you got, Nav? Are you going to move into other slides, or should I shoot a question?
Well, I mean, we could. Why don't I show this, and then we'll have Eric kind of talk a little bit about this, and then Stomps, you lead the questioning after that. So Eric, you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah. So a lot of people know me from starting Hockey Monsters, and for those people who don't know, Hockey Monsters is basically a pickup floor hockey league that I host out of Woodridge on Sunday mornings. And but there's more history to that than that itself. I was actually hosting hockey games as a kid, and as far back as the 90s. Like in this picture, I'm in the middle there. I'm the little scrawny kid with the nerdy glasses and everything. Nothing's changed apparently. But it goes way back for me. I was basically calling friends from school, bullies, whoever I could get to just come over and play hockey, because my brother and I loved it. One year on Christmas, my dad bought us a net and 2 sticks, and everything else is history from there. We loved it. We played it, and probably a little nuts about it, but we're all here. I'm here talking to you because of that. So I wanted to just share some pictures because a lot of people don't know about how far back I've been doing this and all the experience that I add to it. Modestly speaking, of course, because you learn as you go, right? But yeah, just some pictures for you to share. And these were also pickup games, and same type of format, 20 minutes, but they were all played on my driveway. I had this long driveway with this, it had a pretty steep, downhill, but we'd take like patio benches and put them at the bottom of the driveway to keep the ball from rolling all the way down. And, we'd have 2 fully geared goalies, and it was fun. But this is where I started, because a lot of people ask me, oh, did you play ice? Did you play roller? And those answers are both no. I played street hockey, literally. I just made it happen. So yeah, just some history for you guys. And
all right.
Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff. I mean, I think we all kind of come up through the street hockey ranks, right? So Woodridge, I'm a Johnny come lately when it comes to Woodridge, right? I mean, a lot of people, I wonder, why didn't I play at Woodridge up until this year, especially when I lived so close. But for me, it was more, I was playing 2 nights at Palatine. Quite frankly, for me, it was enough. I used to like to sleep in on Sundays and catch up
Doesn't.
on rest. But now I really wouldn't miss it unless I have to, obviously. But so can you talk a little bit about the history? When did it actually start that these, my understanding was there at one point there used to be actual teams playing. Now it's become teams that are formed the day of. But, maybe you could just talk about that history at
Sure.
Woodridge.
So, like in this 2001 picture, I was just trying to get hockey games going back again, and just as an option for me and some of my friends to play. But it's hard, especially when you leave high school and everyone's going to college, everyone's out of state, people enter relationships, lives change, and those are things that you cannot control. And I just didn't find a lot of people out there who had the passion for the game that I did. But regardless of that, I still wanted to play. And I didn't know about leagues. Keep in mind that the internet wasn't as robust as it is now. So you couldn't just look up where leagues were as easily as you could. Like now it's easier to look up leagues, but back then that wasn't the case. So you had to kind of know what was going on through word of mouth. But instead of me taking that journey, I decided to do it the hard way and just kind of create my own games. And to start, we would do, a few games, like maybe a game a month or like one game every 3 months. And that started in 2008. Because to start with, I only had about 8 people to play. And out of those 8 people, there was only really 2 or 3 of us who were actually, who had experience playing floor hockey. So they were kind of, they weren't ideal games, but you work with what you have, right? But through, contacts, through friends and friends of friends, I ended up meeting more people, and I ended up forming a foundation where I could actually start hosting games more consistently. And a lot of these guys, they like getting together, they like playing, and because of those guys, I was able to build this foundation and keep the engine running, keeping the games consistent, just keeping the quality there. I knew I had a set amount of guys I could depend on, and then, we had friends that we'd invite here and there just to try to fill the games up. And eventually, it became an animal where it just evolved, and more people wanted to play, and I was able to really capitalize on that and just increase the quality. I'm not sure if that answers your question well enough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so take us into your mindset on a Sunday. What do you look for when you form the teams? I mean, obviously you want some balance there, right? But
so to start, before I even, get into get in my car and drive, I think about, okay, I look at the list of the signups on the app, and I say, okay, do I have enough people to play? And are the guys that I need to play, are they reliable? So one of the reasons this has stayed together so long is because I take accountability for it. The last thing I want to do is invite a lot of people out to play, and then we don't have enough guys, or we don't have goalies, or we're going to get out there and all of a sudden a tornado is going to hit. I take everybody's time seriously, and that's just a professional thing. I learned professionally that you just try not to waste people's time. Respect it, because you can't put a value on it. Because as you were saying earlier, Stumps, all of us only have so much. We just don't know, right? So the whole basis of why I feel this has been successful is just because of the accountability I take. But to answer your underlying question, which was, how do I form the teams? I know a lot of the talent that plays there already, fortunately. So I know the skill sets. I know who are the goal scorers. I know who are the good defensemen. I know the guys who are in between, and I know the guys who are going to go out there, they're going to play and have a good time, but I can't expect them to come out there and score 10 goals, right? So I try to basically match people up accordingly. A lot of times I end up matching myself up with Nav, because Nav and I have a similar skill set. He's probably more offensive than I am, but as defensemen, we're both reliable. You pretty much know what you're going to get out of Nav, and you pretty much know what you're going to get out of me. Unfortunately, I like to play with Nav a lot. So, when I do that, I have to have another defenseman that can offset that, right? Because Nav still runs a lot. I run a lot. So I can't put the guys who are up in age against that. That's not fair. So I'm really taking into account, age, athleticism, talent, and, just guys, who have a drive to play. It's a lot of these different little variables, but I don't know how my brain works it out. It just does. But those are the things I consider when I make the teams. How can I make them so that they're fair? To be honest, that's my number one objective. How do I make these fair? If I have somebody coming in for the first time, I want them to have a good experience. Because if they don't, they're not going to come back. And I want them to come back because I need people. People get injured, their lives change. I've learned throughout the years it's very easy to lose a lot of people really quickly. And that's not anything personal to me. It's just, it happens. So I want to do everything I can to make sure the experience is good for other people. And that starts with making sure that I'm accountable and that these games happen. And when a game shouldn't happen, I'm not forcing it. And that when I make teams, they're fair. That I'm not putting all the great players on my team just so I can have an ego boost. If anything, I'm the exact opposite of that when I go to making these teams. I usually stack the odds against me because I know I'm going to play hard. So, that's a factor too.
Well, you know what they say, Eric, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Lou and I were talking on Wednesday after our Palatine game, and one of the things that we found in the last several weeks, and you'll hear about that shortly, is we've had some issues with balancing. Lou does a good job, and this is not an indictment on him at all. But we were thinking of taking and implementing some of your sort of best practices, bringing in the team sheets before the game and maybe spending a little bit more time balancing out the teams. So look to that coming up in the next few weeks at Palatine. And Eric, if we can kindly request, maybe you could send me one of your sheets and I'll print it out and we'll take off the Woodridge logo and we'll make sure we don't do copyright infringement.
There's no logo on it. You guys, I'll send you whatever you need and I'll help you however you need it.
I appreciate that. Stomps, please, or Frank.
No, I was going to mission accomplished, obviously, Eric. Because I don't think there's a game I've played at Woodridge that hasn't been competitive, and I've only seen, maybe one or two one-sided games. What do you see coming up the rest of this season? Obviously, weather plays a factor. How far into 2020 do you think we might play, and will there be a turkey game the week of Thanksgiving, which I think would be really fun?
It's actually an excellent question, Stomps. What do I see happening this year? Okay, well, I've got a lot of big news. I'll try not to overreach, but I'll share what I can. First thing is I'm changing the game format slightly. I'm going to test it out this upcoming Sunday. Where I'm actually going to cut down the game times so I can get a game out an hour. And the primary reason for that is I want to try to accommodate 6 goalies. We've got a lot of hungry goalies that want to come out there and play. And I feel it's a disservice for me to not necessarily deny them that, but to not give them at least the opportunity to do it. But the problem why we don't really do 6 games consistently now is the 11 a.m. game's late. And by the time you get home, like for me, I got home at 2 o'clock. Well, half my day is gone. And I have things I have to do, and so does other people. So to me, personally, I think the 11 a.m. game it's too late, and that's why a lot of people don't sign up. But if that 11 a.m. game becomes a 10 o'clock game, you're going to see you're going to see a lot of different, the attendance will be better, in my opinion, at least I think. But that's why I'm trying this new format. And I'm not going to get into how that's going to work now because I still have to post that on the app, and it's a lot of just details that I don't think are important right now. But that's just one of the changes. Another change is that Frank and I are going to co-host a tournament there, either in late October or November. Time frame is still to be determined, but we're going to try to get together a tournament with at least 8 teams. And it's going to be kind of pretty much the same format, but details on that aren't all sorted out yet. But since in the area we haven't had any tournaments, and I think a lot of guys are hungry for that, and I think Sunday would be, in Woodridge. I think that would be a great place to do it because it's a smaller court. So we're going to give that a go. It will interrupt some of our hockey monster games, but I think it's a worthy cause, and it gives guys an opportunity to kind of get involved in tournaments and see what they're about. Besides that, I'm going to say with weather, it's up to Mother Nature. Her and I don't have a good relationship. Actually, last year, she rained us out 9 times. So 9 weeks of hockey I had to cancel because of rainouts. And, you say, oh, 9, that's not that much. But, I mean, there's only 52 weeks in the year. And you figure we're doing 2 games. So that's like 18 games at least, if not more. So, yeah, it really took a hit in the amount of games we play per year. But I have no control over that. Even if it's not raining and we go to play, if the court's wet, it's dangerous. And I don't particularly like playing when it's wet because 1, it's dangerous, and 2, I don't have any footing and I can't play the game that I want to play. But there's guys that don't care, so I try to weigh those decisions, and no system's perfect with that, but I try to do what I think's best for everybody.
No, that's great. We were midway through an interview here with Eric Geraghty on episode 4 of the Neutral Zone. Eric's our special guest. He's the commissioner of Woodridge, and he's run some very successful teams and leagues. The viewers, I got to tell you, when you kind of throw out some new information and some possible changes in a tournament, you're going to get a lot of questions. I mean, we are pretty, I'm personally speaking, I'm pretty excited about some of this stuff. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this pilot goes with these 1-hour games and stuff like that, because as well as anybody else that, people drive from really far distances, and you've always been pretty sensitive to that. But it's going to require everybody to be more punctual, and it's going to require some discipline. So I look forward to seeing how that pilot goes, and I'm excited about the tournament.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of exciting things coming up, and I think it's important. I think it's needed. With the COVID situation, I think we need some of that positivity in some of those events. And Frank and we're committed to delivering. And I have no doubt it'll be successful once we get everything together. So
great. Stomp, anything else?
I got to thank both, Frank and Eric for all the work they do on the various tournaments and whatnot. And, Eric, specifically yourself, I mean, at least for me, it doesn't go unnoticed, the work that goes into Woodridge, the forming of the teams, the getting out there, you and Peter repairing nets when that's needed. It's just all of it, managing the app and doing the statistics, which I love statistics. I'm a big stats person. We don't get them in these so-called real leagues at Palatine, but you give it to us, which is really cool. So, but I do want to kind of close with a really important question about the 2020 Woodridge season. Would you honestly say that I'm the odds-on favorite to be the Rookie of the Year for this season? That's got to be a shoo-in at this point. Come on.
I mean, I don't typically nominate a Rookie of the Year, but and I haven't looked at the stats, but sure, I can.
Hey, that's usually a question that wouldn't come from Stomps.
That's usually you, Nav. I was channeling my inner Nav with that question.
The delightful surprise.
Age limit on a rookie vote?
What was that?
Isn't there an age limit for a rookie qualification?
Why? This is my first season at Woodridge. I'm a rookie.
All right.
Come on.
No, I think we should, Eric, I mean, I would advocate for you to kind of take that one offline and think through it.
So, to kind of add to that, probably one of the toughest things for me is that I'm not able to, I don't want to use the word award, but highlight some of these things, like a Rookie of the Year or a
sure,
some type of milestone, right? Specifically, guys that come in and play for a number of years and then they retire. That's probably the biggest hit, right? I make a lot of friends there. We all do. And, I'm very fond of the people that were with me from the beginning, who played their day in and day out when we had were working with scraps, and they trusted me and they worked with me, and I owe it to those guys. I owe it to all of them, that this thing's become so successful. I'm just the guy that takes the responsibility, but without all the players, this doesn't happen. So my job is just to make sure the quality's there, and to get those compliments from like a guy like you, Stomps, it means the world to me, because you've played a lot of hockey. You've been in a lot of leagues. You've seen a lot of things that you think probably work and things that don't. So, I'm always open to feedback on what you think could be better. I'm not against, improving anything. I mean, you could ask Nav, you could ask Frank, you could ask anybody. I'm always open to suggestions. I'm always willing to explain why I do things the way I do, because one, I have nothing to hide, and two, I've tried a lot of different things. So I'm not going to say that I have the best thing ever or anything like that. I just do the best I can with it.
Well, I think this could be a real unique year for Stomps. If he wins that Rookie of the Year, he could be the first guy to get the Rookie of the Year and also be in the Hall of Fame all in one year. Okay, so we could do a whole show about Woodridge, but talk to us a little bit about the evolution of the Foxhounds. And I threw some prompts out there with these two images, and I wanted to sort of maybe tell us a little bit about what these two pictures mean to you and what the evolution.
Well, it all kind of goes back to Woodridge. I started, Hockey Monsters, I call it officially in 2008. And around 2011, I thought, you know what, we have a lot of good players, but when it snows, we don't have a chance to play outside. So I took us into the Carroll Stream League in the winter session, which is typically the most competitive, because that's when a lot of people come out of the woodwork to play more hockey for the same reasons we do. And so I put two teams together, and both those teams met in the final, which was hysterical. And one of the refs there, he's like, that is like the most competitive game I've ever seen. He's like, that was fantastic. I'm like, yeah, we all know each other too. Compliment, right? And then in 2012, I put in just one team, and I called them the Foxhounds. And it was a makeup of basically mostly guys that played on Sunday. They were pretty much handpicked by me. And we went on and we won it. And at that time, I was getting in the Palatine with the Regulators, and I played one season with them. Now, originally, I wasn't even supposed to be their goalie. I was supposed to be like a defenseman, just an extra guy to fill in. Greg Frere was supposed to be their goalie, but Greg had some family things going on, and he couldn't actually attend the games. So I put on the gear, and I walked into that league thinking I'm going to get destroyed. There was just no way that I felt personally that I was talented enough to survive that. The nets are regulation size. It's a bigger court. I don't understand the angles. I don't understand the rules. I don't know anybody. I didn't have a lot of faith in my ability, and somehow I performed well. And after I performed well, I'm like, well, if I had, the guys I'm used to playing with in front of me, guys I trust, I wonder how good we could do. So it was more of like I just wanted to test the waters. Unfortunately, there were a lot of issues with that, and that obviously you've experienced it personally. So if you have questions around that, or if you want to kind of step into that with a question,
we're gonna get to that momentarily. But on the left here, I see the Regulators, and I mean that's a real different group of guys than what we see right now. And then I'm more interested to talk about on the right. Do you remember that game, Frankie? That was the first championship the Regulators had won, and it was against the Raiders, and that was in 2012. You remember that, Frankie?
I have no recollection of that.
Yeah, I call BS on this. What is the scoreboard? That doesn't look like Raiders.
That's Raiders.
Probably the Canadians, right?
Raiders.
That was the Canadians.
Eric, can you fact check that?
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I have the picture in my basement, and it's Raiders. All right, guys.
Well, that was a good game. I remember, we talked about Billy earlier on, but I remember that might have been one of the games where Billy, I think he prematurely had to leave the game. So we might have had an open net at the end there, eh?
We did. Yeah. It was kind of a crappy finish, given how much of a battle that game was. But I mean, as you can speak for Nav, for us, it was the battle of our lives. I know in net, like I played my tail off, and it's a memorable game for me. Very important one.
No, it was a great game. And so this is a perfect segue into where are they now? So, you look at the Regulators, you look at the evolution, turned out to be a real storied franchise in Palatine. And, Eric, credit to you as well for bringing that team together and, dealing with, you were very open about, it's a different rink, a different type of floor, some of the reservations you had. And we appreciate the honesty. But, just to sort of, get through something here, that was our first franchise win. This is a clearer picture here to both Stomps and Frank, who are in denial still. But that was the Regulators' first championship, 2-1. The Raiders outshot us, obviously, just by a 5-shot margin. You had 3 guys, 3 Canadians on that team. You had Bill Galanis, which, we'll talk a little bit about where he is now. Lucky Thalos, I think Frankie's somewhat in touch with him. I've kind of lost touch with him. And then you had myself. And then we won that first franchise title in 2012. And, we thought we were rolling, being part of such a special team. And then Eric shares some news with us and says, hey guys, we're not going to be able to renew your contracts. So the three Canadians had to sort of desperately find a new team. And we ended up going and playing on the Avalanche after that until Frank was gracious enough to take in Bill Galanis, and then Lucky went on to start up his Toronto Leafs, and then I played with Avalanche, and I went to the Venom, and then Frankie made a spot for me, but it was kind of conditional where I had to play on the Green Machine, or not the Green Machine, High Voltage with him and Tom Broughton. Frankie, you remember that?
Hey, Nav.
Yeah.
What would this show be without, discussing ethnicities at least once? So you've got the Golden Greeks there of Bill Galanis and Lucky Talis. Tremendous.
Yeah, but Eric, walk us through kind of your thinking on that big franchise move.
So there's a lot of background information most people don't know. Just to give some facts, at the time there were 7 teams on Wednesday. A lot of people forget that. And because there were already 7 teams, Mark Costanza wouldn't allow me to make an 8th team. And that would have meant I would have left the Regulators and I would have taken the guys I've added. Regulators would have still been a team. It wouldn't have destroyed that team. If anything, it would have been harder for me because I would have to come up with the extra guys on the roster. But it was something I knew I could do. But I couldn't get that team slot. Mark Costanza just wouldn't give it to me. He says, you'll have to wait till a team drops out. Well, I didn't know how long it was going to be. I talked to guys who had been in the league a long time, like Tom Broughton. He told me that those same teams have been there forever, with a few changes here or there. So I basically had to negotiate to take over the Regulators spot. And that meant that there were some people that I couldn't include. And Lucky, Bill, and Nav, yourself, you guys weren't guys that we couldn't include. Like, we could have included you. But the issue was we had too many. I wanted to bring all my guys from Sunday because those are the guys I wanted to play with. And, I trusted. And, as I said earlier, I wanted to test the waters. But we only had so many roster spaces. And if you remember that win with the Regulators, we had 4 lines. We just had way too many guys. Yeah. And you can't sustain a team like that. People were getting pissed on the bench. Chris Sheets was making decisions that some guys didn't like, and it was a tight game. And I mean, if you can't understand those decisions on a tight game, then I don't know what to tell you. But nobody wants to be told, hey, you can't take your shift because we have to put this guy out. I get it. Point being is that the team couldn't continue to go forward the way it was. And I wasn't the captain of the net Regulators. I didn't have a say on who we kept and who we dropped.
That was Sean Frick at the time. We
correct, yes.
Yeah.
And I was really aggressive, perhaps too aggressive, with telling him what I wanted. And I was pretty assertive about what methods I was willing to go, what distance I was willing to go to get what I wanted to get. So we met in a middle line. Basically says, all right, I want to keep these 5 guys and the rest of the team is yours to fill. Well, I had more than 10 guys I wanted to add to the team. So I had to make a sacrifice there. And then Sean got to pick the 5 guys he wanted. But unfortunately, neither you, Bill, or Lucky were part of that. And I mean, it wasn't a personal thing. If you ask me, I wanted to keep everybody if I could, but it just wasn't feasible. And it required a tough decision. A lot of people disliked me after that, and I owned it because, you know, tough decisions are, they're a reason they're tough decisions. But I don't regret it. I think at the end of the day, everybody ended up, I'll say, a better place. I mean, not everybody, but I think everybody found a new home. And I think for the most part, people made more friends. And I offered, and you'll probably remember this, Nev, I offered to help get people on another team. You know, I told everybody about Sunday. Like, I was throwing every chip I had out there to try to mitigate the bad blood that this decision would make. But, you know, people are, you know, it's like a relationship. You get rejected, it's going to hurt, right? So I can't blame anybody for that. I can't get mad about it. And even then, I didn't get mad about it. I assumed the responsibility.
Sure.
Is it the way I wanted to go down? No, but I mean,
Eric, for the viewers, especially to Bill Galanis and Lucky Thaus, you and I have talked about this. There's definitely no hard feelings. I think we patched this up like 7 or 8 years ago. We played really hard.
Right.
We played really hard against each other. And I can't say enough how a difficult situation like that turned out to be actually really good for both sides. I mean, I wouldn't have made the friends I made, played on all those different teams, and then, you know, the Foxhounds went on to have a very successful franchise. So I think in the end it worked out. Obviously, like you said, it's always difficult. We were able to find other teams, and I appreciate you for talking about that. And I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was a fun fact or a little bit of history that we could talk about here.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there.
All right. Okay, let's get more into modern day. Let's get more into modern day. So we lost that first game. Stomps and I on the light team. Eric, Frank, you know, you guys were both part of both. You guys were on the same team on that, so we kind of have a good representation of both sides. That was a tight affair. That was a good team you made. What do you guys think went wrong and what went right for the dark team?
Well, I mean, I'll just chime in. I didn't play great. I just pretty much played defense, but Frank was terrific. So, you know.
No, don't tell him that.
He put up 4 goals.
Boy,
I mean,
don't tell him that. He'll tell you he was terrific.
He did. He put up 4 goals. He was terrific. Sorry, I had to say it.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I swear to God, I'm not joking around. Did my team win or lose?
We won. We won by 2. It was 9-7. Yeah.
Here's the weird thing.
Obviously,
I totally lost track of the score in that game. When the final buzzer went off, I could have sworn we were going to go to overtime because it was tied. And they said, "Oh, we lost by 2," and I'm like, "What?" I mean, so I don't know why, but yeah, that.
Good sign. I mean, it means your head's in the game and not on the score. And I mean, as a player, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. That's where I want my head. I want it in the game. I don't want to be thinking about the score. I just want to think when we get the next one.
Right. Well,
it was a good game.
Yeah, it was good. And I mean, I knew the score. I knew we had lost by a margin of 2. A couple of notables. I thought the line with Frank and Ganutek was pretty solid. I thought they kind of found each other nicely. We had trouble with them. That was a good tandem. One of the things I have noticed that's kind of emerged as a kind of newsworthy is the chemistry between Steve Smentek and Timmy. I don't know if you guys noticed, those 2 guys have played well together in recent weeks.
I haven't paid a ton of attention to it, but you know, he's a grinder. I mean, he'll fight you tooth and nail from the ball, and well, Tim's a threat even from the sidelines. So let's be honest, you give Tim you know, an inch, he'll take a mile. He's just that good all the time. So
I was the return of Steve Grass. I think he scored a goal.
He did, yes.
I consider him certainly
the dirtiest player out there.
What was that?
Is that what you were going to say?
No, I mean, I say at Palatine, he's probably right at we talked about this on his show. He's right at the top of best face-off guys. And I think he maybe won 1 or 2 draws today.
Yeah, Frankie had him on a few draws as well. I saw that. I was paying attention to that. But whenever you have Sabatini taking a draw, it's it's kind of a null and void in terms of he's always cheating on the draws. But but Smentek, like you said, Eric, he plays hard. Do you see that? He actually plays so hard. I think he took the net out in one of the games.
Yeah, he did. He's just he's a grinder. He'll, as a defender, he's going to wear me down too, because I know he's going to fight for every ball and he's going to shoot it. And he's a great player to have on your team for sure.
Yeah. In that second game, Eric, Light went on to win a real nail biter, 10-8. I thought the big highlight in that goal was Rocco's goaltending. I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, he was on fire.
Yeah, the glove was on fire today. I think the Dark team figured it out too late. White was consistent throughout the whole game, but I think Dark didn't really start producing until they pushed the pedal to the metal at the end. And unfortunately, with a lot of these games, it's still too late. So, but still, it was nice to see a comeback start towards the end of the game, but they couldn't quite finish the deal there.
Yeah. Ganutek actually played half the game. He was kind of sitting on the bench there, kind of contemplating. He was thinking really hard whether he should play that second game or not. And ultimately he realized that with Ron Coletta Sr. and his tardiness that he could probably get in a couple of minutes. So he ended up playing a big part of that game. But I thought today was great. Congratulations, Eric, and really in filling that 3-game slot. I thought that was pretty cool. Looking forward to kind of what's going on with Woodridge going forward. Palatine, Wednesday. Tell me there weren't deals on Wednesday in Palatine. I think we had 4 trades, right, Frankie and Stumps?
I wasn't keeping track. All I know is every time I looked up, there was a different player on my team. I was waiting to get my call. But
yeah, there was at least 4, 3, 2 or I don't know how many periods do we play usually, 5 or whatever it is. We play out that time, but I mean by the end of the second or so, it was like 4 guys, 4 trades, and I feel like we should have a trade deadline because it's kind of too crazy with moving guys, or if we set. Use the Eric way and set the teams up front right, we won't have to trade during the middle of the games.
I think the hard thing out there is that some guys come and they really want to get after it, and other guys are just coming out there to get an exercise in. So, and I don't care either way, but that game we were just kind of trading breakouts for a little while, and it was getting uneven.
Yeah.
If that's how we're going to do it, that's fine. But they're keeping score. And the way I think of it is if we're going to keep score, then you should actually play the right way, at least to some degree, and make an effort to win. And so I got aggravated with some of my guys because we weren't playing two-way hockey. And, it's like, all right, your turn to play. All right, now it's my turn to play. Well, they're keeping score. Let's do things the right way. Let's mark a man, make a pass, move around. That's the hard thing when you're trying to set up the teams is you don't know exactly what everyone's doing out there.
But you know the players, the personalities. So who's likely to come out there and just jog around and not really care much, and who's going to come out there and play to the wall? You have to know ahead of time, who's going to do what. You're not going to hit it 100% on the head. Like the guy that comes out there, maybe walks around a lot. Maybe he comes in one day and wants to play. Well, you're not going to get that right, but you don't always have to. You have to start with the foundation. Who's reliable? Who's going to be there? Who are guys that turn the tide? Who really make the big difference? And start with that, and then fill in those gaps. So if you have one team that looks like it has 2 talent, then start putting some guys that maybe are just going to kind of lounge a little bit on their team, so it balances out. It looks complicated, but after you do it a few times, you kind of figure it out.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you, and I know Frank's point is it's almost like a developmental league for some, and then for others it's just to come out and they're in the twilight years of their hockey career, so they just want to come out and get some exercise.
Yeah, and you have to define it, right? Is it a scrimmage? Is it are you guys doing like pickup games? You have to define what it's supposed to be, because if you blend it all together, then it has no definition and it has no identity, and then guys don't really know how to play. They'll just, like Frank said, they'll do kind of whatever they want. And if you're looking for more of a game format, then you have to start from that. Figure out how many periods can you do, and go with that. Start with that and say, okay, these are the goalies. If you have 4 goalies, then say, okay, you guys play the first. If you're doing like 5 periods or 6 periods, I'll just make this easy on myself. Say, okay, you two play the first periods, and then you two play the back half. Just add some structure, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but once you set that up, everything else starts to go a lot smoother.
No, I would agree. And my biggest pet peeve, and again, I give a lot of credit to Lou for putting this together, but what I don't like is the same guys who, and you guys know who you are because you're viewing the show right now. The same guys who complain about the team. Sorry?
Let's call them out.
The same guys who are upset when they're losing and they think the teams are unfair are, for some reason, always the same guys when they're winning by a lot that are not the first to say, hey, let's change this up a little. So I challenge people that come out to these games, if you see something lopsided and you're on the winning side and it's really lopsided, be the first to put your hand up and say, hey, listen, let's even this out. Because what I hate is, because it starts getting like, you get so competitive, it's a scrimmage. You start forgetting that it's a real terrible time for the people that are chasing the whole game. Hey, any comments on this gentleman?
Alex, I don't know if you saw, they did a write-up on him for the National Ball Hockey League. So that was that went out to a larger community of ball hockey players, not just in Chicago, but nationally. They did a write-up on him, featured him as the player from Chicago. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I love Alex. Great dude, great hockey player, and just he's got the best attitude of anybody out there. Plays hard, he's a good teammate, kind of picks everybody up.
Was that article recent, Frank?
Yeah, I shared it on Facebook. It was just a couple days ago.
Yeah, we should spotlight that now. But I echo what you said, Frank. I mean, Alex, great guy. That Polish national jersey he's wearing there on the left is incredible. That's been shared with a number of friends in the Polish community because I thought they would enjoy that. But great guy. He was out there today too, so it was good to see him again.
It was good. So hey, listen, we're gonna try something new today. So you guys all remember the Molson Cup 3 stars? Forget about the Molson Cup 3 stars. We got the Corona Cup 3 stars.
So, we got to find the 3 people that ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go with the Molson Cup, our 3rd star here. And I thought he had a tremendous game. If you can zoom in, you can see Adesh having a beer here. And I don't know who that is, so I'm not going to make any guesses, but she's drinking a Corona. So I thought Adesh had a big game on Wednesday. Offensive prowess, taking shots. He got great chemistry with Alex. So yeah, I put him down as the 3rd star in a winning cause.
Yeah, I mean, Adesh is week after week, he's one of the top guys out there. So I take it from the picture, he's at least 21 years old. No, I asked because I realized after the game on Wednesday, I gave him a Jack Daniels beverage. Well, his dad was there to supervise, so if he was under 21, I should be absolved from all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's of age.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was worried about that.
Our 2nd star. Frank, any guesses?
Is this still from Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday. Who played well on Wednesday? Joe Gleason. Oh. Yeah, he was awful.
He scored a ton of goals.
Yeah, I know. It's always guys.
In a losing cause, I mean, he was scoring a lot of goals. He kept it close. I picked this picture because that's the same facial expression he has when he has to come back and play some defense.
I've never seen that happen, so I wouldn't know what he looks like.
Can I tell you something about Dan? So obviously he knows how to put the ball in the net, and through the years, his favorite move, he gets that ball on the off wing. He's a left-handed shot on the right wing, and he likes to get to the middle and shoot that twisted wrister. So as a defender or somebody who plays defense most of the time, you want to try and overplay that play a little bit and let him have his backhand. But I think he's gotten wise to it, and he's made good bull rushes to the net on his backhand. He scored a goal. He went wide around the D-man, and then as he got close to the goal line, he quickly transferred the ball to his backhand forehand and tucked it in. I thought that was a really nice goal.
Yeah. He's got a great shot, great release. I mean, I think he might have scored 3 of their last 3 goals. I thought he had a great offensive game. He's always a great ad. Frank brings him to a lot of his teams. I think he's a Masters player, right, Frank, officially?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's good.
But there was controversy Friday night where apparently a goal was kicked in at the end of the game, and so there was a lot of controversy over that. So while we're glowing about Danny, I heard he was in the middle of that play.
Ooh. Any instant replays on that?
We'll have to ask Lou.
Here's a guy that Stomps brought to my attention as the first star in a winning cause. So we always like to give the first star to the player who demonstrates the core values of the neutral zone, which is playing on both ends of the ice. And we're going to give this first star to Ed Del Castillo. Stomps, you want to tell us why?
Yeah, goal and 2 assists. Actually came back, made some good defensive plays as a forward. He was a big reason for the victory for sure. So I nominated him as a first star. I think well deserved.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's nice to see him come out there and he keeps playing and he's working, and him and Todd, you got to be careful with both those 2 guys. They're good friends, and you want to kind of mix them up, and they'll be the first people to tell you if they're not getting enough playing time, though. So I just make sure that we continue to give them enough playing time. All right. So listen, for those of you who tuned in, we wanted to sort of wrap up here. I wanted to kind of set the expectations for the coming weeks. But before we do that, a special thank you to Eric Geraghty for sticking with us this afternoon. And again, it's well documented what you've done for the sport in the Chicago area. Please, for those of you who are watching, share the video. Tune in. I'll have the YouTube feed ready later on tonight. Next couple of episodes. Hey, Frankie, look at that.
I'm like the Godfather.
Next couple of episodes. So next week we plan to have a real special segment. I think we're going to have 4 goalies. I have 3 listed here, but we're going to have a session on or an episode on called Between the Pipes. And that's where we're going to have Billy Jacques, Dave Schmiel, and Bobby D. Who's the 4th goalie that we're thinking of having in that one, Stumps?
Well, I mean, we've thrown around Dave Wagner. We've thrown around. I mean, Joe Coletta. Does he have any media capabilities? I don't know. Maybe Lou. Lou has played a lot of goal at Palatine.
Sure.
He's a possibility.
Well, stay tuned for that one because that episode's gonna be interesting. We're working, Stomps and I, with our hopefully future multimedia person to get us the 5-second delay on our broadcast here, just in case things are said that we don't want to have the public hearing. And then the week after that, we're going to do something similar to what we did today, minus the Woodridge side. But, we talked about the Foxhounds today, the kind of winning culture that Eric's built. We're going to do the same thing with the Toros, and we'll have 2 special guests in Dante and Dave Schmiel. But you all tuned in today to the 4th episode of the Neutral Zone. Again, thank you for doing so. Please don't forget to subscribe to Pashamushka.
Pashamushka.
So, for all of you who tuned in, thank you very much. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Share the video. Thanks for your support for the Neutral Zone. Have a great Sunday and have a great week ahead.
See you Wednesday, boys.
Welcome to the world we live in. Back and forth through the kitchen. Remembering the nights we spent out. Seem so far away, distant in a dream.